time to sit down and relax a minute with a cup of coffee. And something came to my mind because I gave a sermon. I've given several sermons on it, written on it over the past few years. Thank God for the tribulations. You say, why is that coming to your mind now, and why are you thinking about it over a cup of coffee? Well, it's sort of like this. I was working on recording some podcast sermons, and I was recording something else, and as I was recording, I look over, put on my... You froze up on me. Oh, thank God for the tribulation. It took 3 shots at the video before I finally put one in the can. What I said, I'm not really sure. I know hopefully it was useful, but I'm not sure what I said. But tribulation has somewhat become a way of life for me. I am having a lot to thank God for. And I kind of had to laugh at that the other day. Because after a tribulation, I forget which one, doesn't really matter. I looked up at God and I said, yeah, I know I'm supposed to thank you for the tribulation, but do I have to have this many opportunities to thank you? You know, you can go from tribulation to tribulation. We're in the middle of 2021, and I'm getting around to recording this. It'll probably get up in a month or two, because it has to go through the system, unless tribulations slow it down. And I was talking with someone the other day about this same subject, and I said, you know, I've had 3 flat tires this year. 3 flat tires this year. I've had cars in for warranty work, non-warranty work. I just got a car out of the shop for some work, and the second time I drove it, the airbag light came on. It comes on, it doesn't come on. What's wrong? Well, I was talking with a friend, he thinks electrical. Thank God he knows someone who can come diagnose it. I don't think he fixes them, but if he can diagnose it, that gets me started. But the reason for talking about this is, one, we need to thank God for tribulation, because God sends tribulations for a reason. And I'm thinking of a story. Okay, a friend of mine, well, it's a couple, they're driving from Denver back home to South Central Colorado. And it's been a long day. They'd driven up in the morning, spent all the day at the doctor's office. It's evening, and the husband's driving. The wife insists, you need to stop for a cup of coffee. Well, he wanted to put his foot in and get it home, but he decided, okay, I'll stop for a cup of coffee. They get their coffee and stuff, get back in the truck, and headed south. They come over a hill. The cars were just stopping from an accident, which they would have probably been in the middle of if they hadn't stopped for that cup of coffee. See, that's a minor thing. It happened to me a few years back. I'm coming back in from Kansas City. I just cleared the turnpike gate on I-70, the east entrance. I'm stuck behind the truck, and he's slow speeding up. I decided it's not prudent to try and pass him, because there could be traffic coming on my left where I'd be passing, and they could run into me. So I decided to patiently wait. I came over a hill, came upon an accident. One of the cars was just stopping. Thank God for the tribulation. Now, some of our tribulations may not be that obvious. I don't know why I had 3 flat tires this year. God knows. I guess it's good enough one of us knows. And so, as we're sitting here thinking and going over this, yes, these are tribulations, but they're here for a reason. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately, because It's just one thing after another. But God has a plan. He has a plan for you. He has a plan for me. And part of that includes tribulation. Because the only bad thing that come out of tribulation is dealing with it wrong. And I pray that I'm dealing with my tribulations right. Maybe I'm not. But let us remember. And I did look up a scripture before I sat down with my cup of coffee. I'd like to read it to you. My son, reject not the correction of the Lord, and do not faint when thou art chastised by him. For whom the Lord loves, he chastises, and as a father and the son, he pleaseth himself. This is from Proverbs. Well, that might be what inspired St. Alphonsus to say, if he didn't have tribulations, he'd worry that God didn't love him. I just now thought of that. It's good for me to relax and have a cup of coffee with you, and sometimes I really don't have much planned for what I'm going to discuss with you. Sometimes I do. I want to say something a little bit more deep or something, or have some ideas. But this one, I looked up one scripture. I have no script. In fact, I don't really like scripts. The most I like are bullet points, so I can stay on track. Of course, when I'm sitting here with you and a cup of coffee, we're having a cup of coffee together. I think the idea behind sitting here with over a cup of coffee is you want to find out more about who is the real Pope Michael. You ought to hear me even crack a joke sometimes. And I think I'm going to use this story because this goes way back. Very early 70s, so I would have been 11, 12 or so. Dad and I were over at his mother's doing something. And we get done with that. We're sitting at the kitchen table talking with Grandma. And my dad is complaining about this, that, and the other thing. Grandma, who didn't really drink much, but she had a bottle of wine we picked up on our last trip to Jackson, Mississippi to visit my aunt and uncle and cousins there. So she goes over, gets out the bottle, pours Dad a small glass of wine, lets him take a drink, and then says, "Son, it's time you learn something. Life is just one damn thing after another." Now this is from a grandma who I'd never heard a curse word out of before or after. That was not what she said normally. She was emphasizing her point. And I have to agree with my grandmother. Life is one thing after another. I'll leave out the curse word. But I thought I should quote her direct because that really got to me. Because I was sitting there and it's something I needed to learn, obviously. Which is why God let her say that in front of both of us. See, God is bringing things into our life from all directions. He brings tribulations. He brings good things. He brings ideas. All these things. And they're all there for a reason. And we don't really need to look for the reason. Just, God, I know you got a reason for these tribulations. But still, I wouldn't mind if you cut back on the opportunities to thank you for. Well, I've enjoyed having a cup of coffee with you and getting this off of my heart. But yes, I want to recommend that you thank God for your tribulations and have a cup of coffee.